Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Kenyon. Welcome to the Steve Kenyon Podcast. It is nice to have you with us. I hope you will like and subscribe to our Facebook page from 8 Seconds Media. Check out our other social media sites. We're on TikTok. We're on Snapchat. We are on Instagram. And you can find the video of occasionally we can't get the video when we record an interview, to be honest. But most of the time we get the videos. You can find those on our 8 Seconds Media YouTube channel. Like I say, please like, please subscribe. We'd love to have you following everything that we have to offer as we get into 2025. Today's program is all about the Texas Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. They will hold their induction ceremonies the last weekend of April in Fort Worth, Texas, and they have announced their class of inductees for 2025. And it's a very highly decorated class of inductees into the Texas Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. The men's inductees, Tony Reyna, great roper, T. Woolman, world champion, Rich Skelton, world champion, Isaac Diaz, multiple-time NFR qualifier, and Will Lowe, world champion. The women's inductees, Cappy Allen. I've reached out to Cappy. Hopefully we'll get a chance to visit with her over the next couple of days. Kathy Dennison Feltz, rodeo personnel inductees, Cliff Overstreet, Josh Edwards, and Randy Schmutz, who will join us in just a moment. Jim Bynum and Mitch Terrell, the Empty Saddles inductees, Eldon Dudley and Arnold Feltz, the Gold Card inductees, the Rodeo Animal inductees, the Great Rope Horse Sweetness, and Winslow, the event inductee, the XIT Rodeo in Dalhart, Texas, the Western Heritage Award, Margaret Formby and Dixie Mosley, the Director's Choice Award, Craig Copeland, the Johnny Bourne Award, Rhonda May, and the Star of Texas Award goes to actor Buck Taylor. The induction ceremonies, April 24th, 25th, and 26th. There's a golf tournament on the 24th, welcome reception on the 25th, and the actual induction and luncheon will take place at the River Ranch in Fort Worth, which is a beautiful place, on the 26th day of April. Randy Schmutz joins us in just a moment. We'll talk about his career, his life in the rodeo business. Started off riding bulls and working for a small-town radio station, and he's ended up announcing PBR events, rodeos all over the country, now a stock contractor and starting a brand new business in the hay sales industry. We'll get into all of that coming up. I want you to hear from a couple of our sponsors right now, and in just a moment, our Classic Rope, Classic Equine featured interview of the week with Randy Schmutz, one of the new inductees into the Texas Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. That's coming up. Thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe to our social media sites. I'm Steve Kenyon, and this is the Steve Kenyon Podcast.
Step into the legendary style of the King of Country with the George Strait Collection from Justin Boots. Fit for a king, these boots boast an advanced cushioning system and are crafted with the finest exotic leathers, embodying George's iconic comfort and stage-worthy presence.
Make sure to check out the George Strait Collection from Justin Boots, standard of the West since 1879.
Find yours today at justinboots.com.
Hey y'all, this is Cody Johnson. When I was starting out in music, most every radio station and venue I went to told me no. At that point, you got two options: tuck tail and quit, or buckle down and fight. Well, I'm a fighter, not a quitter. And that's why I wear Wrangler jeans and shirts. Their toughness and style are legendary. They're an iconic symbol of the West, and there's no quit in them either. Life's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And if I'm gonna enjoy the ride, I'm riding in Wrangler. Wrangler, long live Cowboys.
Steve Kenyon Podcast is being sponsored by Wrangler, the official Western Wear Pro Rodeo. Long Live Cowboys by M2 Ranch Jerky, now available on Amazon, m2-ranch.com. By Equinity, it's all about the horse, online at teamequinity.com. By the Justin Boot Company, the standard of the West since 1879. By the Grandview at Las Vegas, the place we stay during the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. By Resistol, proud sponsors of the Resistol Rookie of the Year Award. We live it every day. By the Gooding Pro Rodeo, the Gooding County Fair this year celebrates its 100th anniversary. Come join us and be beer-worthy in the month of August in Gooding, Idaho. By Next Gen Rodeo, by the Cowboy Channel, and today's featured interview of the week is presented by Classic Equine. We are Classic Equine. Play to win. We are Classic Equine. And by Classic Rope, success is in your hands. So let's talk about the Texas Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. The induction ceremonies this year will take place April 24th, 25th, and 26th in Fort Worth, Texas. Among this year's class of inductees, and man, I'm proud to call a pretty good friend. He's a rodeo announcer. He's been one of the voices of the PBR in his career. He's a stock contractor today, the general manager of the Silver Creek Rodeo Company, getting into the hay business. He's in the trucking business. Randy Schmutz wears a lot of hats. But he found out last week that he is being inducted into the Texas Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. And got a chance now to visit with Randy Schmutz, courtesy of Classic Equine and Classic Ropes.
Yeah, we were first surprised to get a call from a friend of ours last fall that said they wanted to nominate us, and first time, and then even more surprised, to be honest with you, with the stellar cast of nominees to be included in this class of 2025. And I look at those contestant names. You and I talked about it before we went on the air, and my goodness, world champions, NFR Cowboys, and actually lots of friends. So it's going to be a pretty cool deal.
Men's inductees, Tony Reyna, T. Woolman, Rich Skelton, Isaac Diaz, Will Lowe. Will's got to be shaking his head going, wait, I'm not that old to be getting put in Halls of Fame at this point. World champion Cappy Allen. Cappy's going to join us next week on this show. Kathy Dennison Feltz. You and Josh Edwards and Cliff Overstreet in the rodeo personnel category. It really is a great category. I've got the complete, or great event opportunity. I've got the complete list on my Facebook page. Randy, you've had a career in the rodeo business, and I was looking over some of your bio information, and you and I actually come from kind of similar backgrounds. We both got a start in radio at some point in our lives, But you always dreamed of being a cowboy, and you've had a career in the rodeo business that has had, if this thing were a tree, it'd have a lot of different limbs to it. You've done a lot of different stuff in this industry.
Well, it's, it's crazy. To be honest with you, I think almost every announcer has a story about how it was an accident to become an announcer. And mine, it was an accident on steroids. I rode bulls, was trying to fill a permit in the PRCA, graduated high school, and everybody that asked me, hey, what do you want to do for a living when you grow up? I want to be a radio disc jockey. I sang a little bit, enjoyed entertainment, love music, and just thought, hey, that'd be a cool job. And so I was riding bulls in a little small town in East Texas, and I walked into the radio station and said, hey, you guys hiring any disc jockeys? And be danged if they didn't hire me on the spot and gave me a shot. I went to work on Monday morning. But that led to me going to our local rodeo there in Center, Texas, and it was a PRCA rodeo, small PRCA rodeo, and made some pre-rodeo announcements like you and I deal with as an announcer now, deal with media, radio host, television host, whatever. And that's what I did. And the stock contractor, Errol Klein, knew me as a bull rider and said, man, I didn't know you were a rodeo announcer. I said, I'm not. I'm a radio disc jockey. He gave me a job 5 weeks after that connection in Liberty, Mississippi. I've never announced a rodeo, never held a microphone in my hand, never did an event, high school, amateur, jackpot, never, ever announced a rodeo. And I said yes, and he said yes. And we went to Liberty, Mississippi under one condition. I could enter the bull riding and get on my bull after the rodeo was over on Saturday night. So I show up there. I'm thinking it's going to be a little small rodeo. It was an open rodeo. There was 2,500 people in the grandstands.
I'll be darned.
And a full slate of contestants, including slack. And I had a ball, nervous as hell, had a ball, got on my bull, won the rodeo, bull riding, announced the rodeo, and just never looked back. So Errol Klein was my first call after this announcement. And I just told him, it's a long ways from Liberty, Mississippi to the places I've been for the past 38 years.
Those places include nominated as the PRCA's Announcer of the Year, 4 different circuit finals rodeos, alternate to the NFR in 1995, college national finals 8 times, produced the openings at the NFR a couple of years. The 2017 Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame Master of Ceremonies announced a National High School Finals Rodeo, the Indian National Finals Rodeo, a bunch of years behind the microphone at the PBR. You've seen a lot of country, Randy.
When we were doing the nomination process, Amber, my wife, she did a little deal for me about 5 or 6 years ago. I had said that, it would be cool if we had a road map of the United States on the wall and a little push pin in each one of the places I've been to. And so she secretly started that endeavor about 5 or 6 years ago and got it completed. And it's really crazy. She went to my wife, remember, she's very meticulous at everything she does. She went to the trouble of creating a banner and the name of the town on this pin. And it was crazy to see the number of places we've been able to go and been fortunate to go. And we've kind of pretty much got an estimate of over 100 different rodeos in 30 different states. And that doesn't count the PBR stuff that I did for almost 15 years.
Yeah. Today, the general manager of the Silver Creek Rodeo Company, a business that you started, Josh Walling, purchased the company last year. And you've spent it hasn't just been a recent thing for you in the raising of rodeo livestock. You got to raising bucking bulls back in the 1990s, right?
Late 90s, early 2000s, when the PBR acquired the Rodeo Stock Registry from Bob Tallman and started the American Bucking Bull Incorporated. I kind of like the fact that we can kind of brag a little bit that Amber and I were the 26th members of the Rodeo Stock Registry and started raising bulls alongside Bob Tallman and a handful of other guys. And then when that gelled into the ABBI, we started raising bulls in the early 2000s. And we bought 55 head of cows from Don Kish, one of the most prolific bucking bull raisers on the planet. We bought a genetic gene pool and was very successful for, almost 20 years, 15 years. Sent several bulls to the PBR finals, sold those and sent some to the NFR. And I'll tell you a quick story. We raised a bull on our place that was sired by a Kish bull, but out of a cow that we raised. And that bull was Redchester. And he went to the PBR World Finals and was selected. And I was announcing. So I was in a sport coat and tie announcing the PBR Finals, walked off the announcer stand, went and flanked the bull. Unfortunately, I bucked off Adriano Moraes, a really good friend of mine. But it was pretty cool. The bull deal really propelled us into some other areas, and it began our kind of production career. Amber and I started producing events, too, way back as early as 2000.
Let me ask you about the PBR in particular, because it seems to me that you got a chance to see, Randy, the evolution of the PBR. You were one of the voices of the professional bull riders in the earlier days of the PBR. And we all know how many different directions that thing has become through the years, but you got a chance to see the evolution of it. You got a chance to see you mentioned Adriano Moraes, I think I'm right in saying this, catch me if I'm wrong, the influx of all those Brazilians that helped to lay the foundation for that international feel of the PBR, but you got a chance to see it from maybe not from the very beginning, but from some of its earlier stages.
Actually, it was from the very beginning. I was fortunate to have been a little small piece of the puzzle in 1993 at the Tough Hedeman Championship Challenge in the old Cowtown Coliseum. I was actually not announcing the event. I was on the floor and doing videos for none other than Rodeo Videos Incorporated, Reed Flake and his family. And that following spring, when they really kind of launched in 1994, I did probably 2 or 3 of the original Bud Light Cups. And actually, I'll tell you funny, I was invited that fall to announce the PBR World Finals the first year in 1994, but my announcing PRCA rodeos was a conflict. I had a rodeo in Seguin, Texas, and Tough Hedeman said, you can get out of that rodeo contract. And I said, well, I'll ask, but I probably can't. And I didn't get to go. But I was very fortunate I call it the golden years, those original 20 guys, and that evolution from the Bud Light Cup to the Built Ford Tough. I was transitioning in that time and probably doing anywhere from 10 to 12 PBR events and probably 18 to 20 pro rodeos. And then it kind of got 50-50, but it worked well with our bucking bull raising program. And it took us to a lot of places. Probably my most memorable was getting to announce an event in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. Which, by the way, they just sold out all 3 performances this year. Good for them.
Yep.
It's become. I've done several Velocity Tour events. I've never done one of the big events, one of the Unleash the Beast events, but those things are a different animal. The production behind them, and there's a real difference between announcing a rodeo and announcing a professional bull riders event.
There is, in that heyday, I like to talk about the fact that I was involved when Randy Bernard was there, and just that thing was just unbelievable how it took off. And I worked with Randy closely, and then Tommy Joe Lucia was a part of the production team that really revolutionized kind of what you see today with all the lighting, the pyro, the openings and stuff. We did some unbelievable opening ceremonies during the World Finals, and then Clayton Cullen came along there too, and so I got to work with several very top-notch individuals who are now just as affluent in the industry as anybody. But it was really a cool deal. And about 4 years in, we all realized that the PBR was going to be a big deal, and they are a big deal. So it was a lot of fun.
I want to tell you about a conversation I had with a fellow this weekend. I went to an event in Oregon, and there was a young man there who I met after the Saturday night performance. We were having an adult beverage, and was introduced to him, and he said he's an auctioneer and he's always wanted to announce rodeos. How do you start? How do you answer that question? I told him, go find some smaller events. I started doing a bunch of high school rodeos. You started at that event that Errol Klein gave you. I don't know that there's a way to start other than just dive into it with both feet and get real wet and see if you're any good or not.
That's the exact answer. I mean, it's kind of that thing that you just got to go grab a mic. And I don't know about you, but I still today, when I turn that switch on just before the spotlight hits you, I'm still nervous about what we're doing. Am I going to get this right? What's my first line out of my mouth? How am I going to say this or say that or whatever? So, but I think it's just pretty normal. Here's the deal. You've either got it or you don't. And then if you got it, you sharpen it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really the only pat answer. There's really, there's some seminars, there's some schools. I'll tell you a quick story. I was 2-3 years in, and I went to a school conducted by the great Zook Dove, who announced the NFR in 1988. And in the spring of 1989, I went to his school, and he sharpened some things. I learned a few things at that school, but that school also put me in front of him, and he put me in front of a whole lot of folks like Jim and Julie Sutton and several others and recommendations. So you've got to get out there, jump in with both feet and just get wet, But then you got to also get someone who's willing to mentor you a little bit, maybe share some things with you about the do's and the don'ts. But, it's just in my case, I got lucky. I did that one rodeo in 1987, did a couple of more open rodeos for Errol Klein. And then I was able to that next spring, I got my PRCA announcing card and took off, and I never looked back. It was just so unbelievable. 1989, I called Julie Sutton, didn't know her, introduced myself on the phone, said, hey, she said, well, you got any references? I said, Zook Dove. She called Zook. She called me back. She said, would you like to come to Manawa, Wisconsin, and Mitchell, South Dakota? Now, this is a Texas kid, green as a gourd. I've announced about 4 or 5 rodeos, period, and I go to one of the biggest 4th of July rodeos in Wisconsin, in Manawa. But you know what that also did? It put me in the pilot seat, and I had to fly or crash.
Yeah.
And when you're in that game, that's the other thing, too. Let's talk about that for just a second. Go get you some experience, but then try to get the best events you can get to with good production, good product, good talent, because you'll sharpen your skills quicker if you're working with good people. And I got a chance to work with some great people early.
Yeah, you really did. It's funny you made that comment about I to this day being a little nervous when you grab the microphone and it becomes go time. I told somebody over the weekend, if I ever quit getting nervous at these things, I'm going to quit. Because that's when I think that's when I quit caring about them. And
that would be a good barometer. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I don't care where I'm at. I still get nervous.
Tell me about production. And I know that's kind of a broad way to start, but among the things that you've accomplished when you were involved with, for example, United Bucking Bulls, you helped to put together a competition format, created rules with the Silver Creek Rodeo Company. You have worked really closely, not just with your rodeo committees to provide livestock, but to help to improve the production of their events. You were involved in the production of the opening ceremonies at the National Finals Rodeo, which are a major deal. Rodeos have, in my humble opinion, improved what it's not just, hi everybody, welcome, here's a national anthem, let's buck some horses anymore. These things really are a show. More and more people who produce the events that you and I get to go to, either you as with the livestock, or me as an announcer, or you as an announcer as well, recognize that we're competing for people's entertainment dollars at this point, and we have to produce these things right. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, the key word is produce. When I had several questions. People call, hey, how come why in the world are you going to become a stock contractor? And I said, well, in reality, I'm really not wanting to be a stock contractor, although we're going to have livestock and provide horses, bulls, cattle, and so forth. I want to be a rodeo producer. I was talking to one of my rodeo producer friends yesterday. 25 years ago, most of those guys that we call stock contractors referred to themselves as rodeo producers.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they got a little bit away from that. But for me, to be honest with you, my announcing days, man, it was about production. It was about me giving an idea to a contractor or a committee person. Hey, how about we do this? Or can we flip that and maybe put the act after the saddle bronc riding right before we go into that first time event of tie down? To me, the production part of what we do, and even more so today because we're on television, is we have to polish, shine, and present as best we can. And the production side of it is something that's just amazed me. In fact, I enjoy announcing rodeos. Even today, I still do a few rodeos. But I love producing an event from start to finish. From 30 minutes prior to the rodeo, when you're supposed to be setting the tone, the feeling, the atmosphere, the culture of that rodeo starts 30 minutes before. You and I work together at Livingston, Montana. We set that up to where 7 minutes out, we say a little hello, we tease them. It's like a movie.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to produce from start to finish. And Jim and Julie Sutton gave me a platform in Rapid City, South Dakota during the Black Hills Stock Show and Rodeo for 15 years. It was lights out, spotlights, campfires, Indian dances, chuck wagons. I could go on and on and on. And it just created a bug in me about production. And that led to the NFR openings. Jim and Julie Sutton were selected as the openings provider back in 1995 and 96. That's when we were doing what I call real openings at the NFR and skid openings. And I literally had the good fortune of writing the scripts, conducting the in and out of each gate and who was doing what. And we did 20 different openings. And I worked closely with Sean Davis in that effort. And we found those scripts in a file, my wife did, last fall. And we've got 20 scripts, framed some of those scripts for our Hall of Fame wall.
Yeah, those are the things you want to keep forever right there. It has been, the one thing that I've learned, and you mentioned the rodeo in Livingston, Montana, which I've announced for, I think this is my 25th year coming up in Livingston. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. It's been such a great time. But
started yesterday.
Yeah, it really does. The older I get, the faster the years go, but that's a whole nother show. But just placing everything and putting those little things in the right spot and keeping your eye on the audience and keeping your focus on the crowd and what they're responding to and making these things quick and snappy and all that. It's such a benefit to our industry. Every time we do a better job producing a rodeo than we did before, it's good for the entire industry, I think.
Well, that's the number one thing. It's trying to outdo yourself the following year, coming up with something that's maybe a little bit different and so forth. And to be honest with you, with Silver Creek Rodeo Company, we've had a real a ball. We've had a lot of fun, and we've taken committees and we've helped them and we've educated them on where they say, well, we just kind of trot a flag in there and we'll say the prayer and the national anthem. And then Joe's going to come out and do a welcome right after that. And then right before we buck the first horse, we're going to present a saddle to so-and-so and so-and-so. And I said, well, how about we try to do this, this, and this?
Yeah.
And let's save that saddle presentation when we let them breathe right after the bareback riding. And so you're juggling all these components and all these elements, production elements. And we've had a number of committees who have really said thank you for helping polish up what we're doing. And you know where that comes from? It comes from being a part of some high-level productions. The PBR, unbelievable openings all the time, timing, presentation, so forth. The American, I got to be involved with some phenomenal people in those platforms. And my wife, she gets a little frustrated with me sometimes because I want it perfect. But at the same time, if we can strive to be perfect and don't hit the mark, we're still making the mark.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I wanted to go back. I want to ask you about your family heritage for just a minute, Randy. But I wanted to go back and just follow up on a comment you made about when you're talking about Jim and Julie Sutton and their impact. I personally believe the Sutton family does not get near enough credit for some of the things that they have done and they've accomplished and they brought into this sport, whether it's the openings at the NFR for those couple of years, whether it's the Wrangler bullfights that Jim Sutton helped. Jim Sutton has had a pretty visionary eye on this industry for a lot of years, I believe. And I don't know that they've ever gotten enough credit for it.
And don't forget Flint's Outside the Barrel.
Yeah.
That started in Rapid City. I was there. I was the Ed McMahon for I was the Kurt Blake for Flint Rasmussen at the first ever Outside the Barrel in Rapid City. So to put things in perspective, Errol Klein is the one who shoved the boat off the shore and didn't give me a paddle.
Yeah.
And then Jim and Julie Sutton were the ones who threw me a paddle and then taught me how to row the boat. You think about it for a second. Errol gave me that job. I worked for him for a little while. He knew I was going to end up leaving, and I went north and northwest and had a phenomenal career. But in 1989, when I called Julie Sutton, and she gave me those first 2 rodeos in 1989, those turned into 4 rodeos in 1990 and an invitation to do their Badlands Circuit finals. Jim and Julie put me in a position to go to the National High School finals as the youngest ever announcer, and they were instrumental in getting me a shot at Pocatello. And then it was the openings at the NFR. And, yeah, we could go on and on. Jim and Julie Sutton gave me the themes and the ideas, and they said, Randy, we want you to contact the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and see if they will come to Las Vegas during the national finals, and we're going to do an opening ceremonies with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And we did. And so to your point, yes, idea after idea after idea. Jim Sutton never quit thinking. And because of that, our industry is so much better off because of it, because of Jim and Julie.
I want to ask you about just on both sides of your family. You've mentioned Amber a couple of times, and she comes from the Mabston family, which if there is a first family of rodeo in Montana, it's probably the Mabston family. You guys have I don't know that you had any choice but being pretty deep into the rodeo business somewhere along the line there, Randy, with her and all that she has done. And she's, from being Miss Rodeo Montana to being Miss or to providing music for so many events. There's a lot of wisdom that comes from that side of the family too, isn't there?
Well, I'm going to say it right up front that this deal we're talking about with the Texas Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame wouldn't even be possible without her, period, end of story. She probably drove more miles than I did. I mean, once I learned she could drive, boy, we were a hit. And so I could tell you a whole lot of deep stories, but the partnership, and I don't even like that word when it comes to a spouse, but our working together, it's been Randy and Amber from day one. I mean, we met in Bismarck in February of 1993 at a Jim Sutton rodeo. It was 42 below zero, real temperature outside. It was colder than the Dickens. And we were married 11 months later, and she's been a music director for me. She's helped me coordinate openings. She's done, I mean, we could go on and on and on. But all that came from a background of rodeo too. You talked about how do you become a successful rodeo announcer? Marry somebody who's better than you are. And Amber is that with Miss Rodeo Montana. She had her own business when we married. Very smart, very affluent. She's been a big part of it. And then, you're rubbing shoulders with Ryan Mapston, 10-time NFR bronc rider, average winner, her brother Gray, circuit champion, unbelievable bronc rider, top 20 in the world. Her dad, her side of it goes 5 generations back. And so that is an absolute plank in what's gone on in the last 38 years with me.
Tell me about how rewarding it was to get your first animals to the National Finals Rodeo.
It's so crazy. I was the alternate announcer during those years when I did the openings. Everybody wants to be. When you and I do what we do, we want to announce the NFR.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, we know that. And so I had actually raised a couple of bulls that went there under others who purchased those bulls from our program, and that was pretty cool. But to stand on the back of the buck and shoots and flank your own, especially coming full circle with me, was a little bit probably more special for me, because it is a monumental task to get one animal to the NFR. It just is. There's so many great stock contractors. There's so many great rodeos. And then there's so many levels of how we get them there. But that first year to flank a bull, same thing, nervous, just like announcing a rodeo. But probably what was more special than that was, I think it was 2021. We had a bull at the NFR, and my son Connor got to go, and he got a flank pass, and he got to be on the back of the buck and shoots with me. He did not tell me this, but that night we met up. He picked me up to go to the rodeo, and he had on an old NFR jacket. And I thought, what the hell? Where'd you get that vintage jacket? He says, this is your announcer jacket from 1995.
I'll be darned. That, you might want to remember that one, Randy. That coat's kind of special.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Absolutely. So you got your first horse this year, your first 2 horses this year. Remind me.
First horse. So Josh Walling bought the company in 2024. We have shifted to general manager, and we worked full-time for Josh last year. Josh did a really good job of exposing the animals that we had helped create and get them to some other rodeos and some other subcontracting jobs. The horse deal is even tougher to get a horse to the NFR than a bull, because a horse can be at the NFR 10, 12, sometimes 15, 16 times. If they're that good, they're going to go every year. So you're waiting for a spot to come open, basically. Yeah. But anyway, through his efforts, we were able to get a horse, a bareback horse, Super Soaker, made the finals last year along with a bull, and Chandler's Dream, and very successful. Josh did a phenomenal job. Garrett Shadbolt was 7th in the first outing with Super Soaker. And so, that getting a horse there is even more monumental than getting a bull. But to have 2 there with a small firm like we have, that's growing, by the way, was a big deal. It was a really cool deal.
Before I let you go, I want to talk a little bit about what's ahead for you, for Silver Creek Rodeo, for Josh, and for you and your family. And I also want to talk about a new business that you're launching into, because it sounds really intriguing to me. What is ahead for the Silver Creek Rodeo Company? What is Josh Walling is a guy that his son rides broncs, right?
Bulls.
I got to meet him just a little bit at Livingston. I'm looking forward to getting to know him better over time, because he seems to have a lot of great ideas and a lot of great plans that he has made for your company.
Well, on Josh's son, Dalton, he's a really very talented bull rider, top 30 last year. And I'll be honest with you, I think he's got the tools to make the NFR. Josh came from a bull riding background. In fact, I was raised in East Texas in a little town called Center, and Josh was raised in the neighboring county 30 miles away in Carthage, Texas. And Josh is 15 years younger than I am, and we got hooked up with a mutual friend last year, and we shifted our focus to managing the company. He owns the company. And Josh has a really good bull riding background, knows bulls, and has just done a phenomenal job with the horses. In fact, he's added probably almost 25 new horses in the last 6 months to the inventory. his objective is to have a half a dozen animals at the NFR each year. And I think we're capable of doing that. Livingston, Montana, a great jewel in our crown of rodeos, has really propelled us and put us in the spotlight. In 2025, we it looks like we're maybe going to get a couple of new rodeos. Josh created a rodeo in Dover, Ohio that was very successful last year. So he's moving, shaking, and spending some money and spending some time on creating a bigger, better platform. I think Silver Creek has got the ability to do anything they want to do. So on the rodeo side, that's kind of where we're headed. We've got 3 events at the World's Toughest with Rory Limble. We're taking horses and bulls to 3 events this year. Going to do some subcontracting with High-Low Pro Rodeo this spring. And then we start our produced schedule in Dover, Ohio in May.
Got it. Are you ready for Steve's dumb question of the interview? We're half an hour into it. It normally doesn't take me that long to get to this.
One other quick point, too. You said kind of some future things. With the rodeo company changing ownership and our being general manager, we were able to, through Josh, to retain our bucking horse breeding program. Okay. So Amber and I are full-time bucking horse breeders. We've got a phenomenal stud that we purchased from Dave Moorhead and Three Hills Rodeo Company 3 years ago. We've got 3 colt crops on the ground by him. He's an own son of Harry, which came from Harry Vold, goes back to the great Custer on the top side. And this stud is out of a producing mare, came from Kessler from Canada. And she is the dam to 6 NFR bucking horses. So our stud is a sibling to 6 NFR horses. We're running about 20 mares. Some of those originally came from the rodeo company. Some were created with the rodeo company. We're 4 generations deep on bucking horse genetics here at the ranch. In fact, we just bucked 14 2- and 3-year-olds the other day with a dummy. Very, very impressed, very happy. So we're doing that too. So we're doing our own breeding with the bucking horses.
So that kind of feeds into what I was going to ask you about, which is, it's interesting. I know my family in the barrel racing business, a colt hits the ground and you don't know what you've got for 3, 4, 5 years sometimes before, and you got a lot invested in them in the meantime. There is a real, I don't know if people who are not active in the rodeo business fully understand. I don't know, to be honest, because I don't raise bulls and bucking horses, Randy, that I totally understand. There's a difference, though, between raising bulls and raising horses. The longevity, the lifespan of the horses is a lot longer. There are opportunities now to get them both bucked younger under dummies. They start bucking bulls as yearlings and 2-year-olds now under dummies, right? But it's interesting because building a bull program is not the same as building a horse program, I guess, to put this in the form of a question. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. It is. And so you said it. We were fortunate to be successful in raising bulls. And this horse thing, it's twice as hard, 4 times as hard. It's only because the matings and the genetics and you're trying to do everything just like it's similar. It's a performance horse. Yeah. It's similar to breeding for a barrel horse. Now that we've got these rope horse futurities and the tie down roping and the breakaway and the team roping, you're trying to pair genetics that have created already genetics that buck. And so, but in the horse deal, some guys buck their horses really early. We try to wait until they're 2, a little stronger, sometimes even 3, with that electronic dummy to where we can get a look at them. And you're looking for kick and some intensity and some buck and some things like that. As long as they don't run to the other end of the arena all flat-footed and never kick over the fence, and we're in trouble then. But my point is, then it's another turn them out for a year. Then it's maybe bring them back and buck them 1 time. Maybe you buck them twice when they're 4-year-olds. And it's not really until they're a 5-year-old that you're really getting a real good caption of what they're capable of. And in fact, I don't think they're really mature until they're 6. And so, but when you can take a producing stud that's got great genetics, and that's the thing, we're DNA verifying these sires and dams to these horses. So we're proving that, yes, this bucking horse is sired by this stud and out of this dam. And it's unbelievable. I've talked to some bucking horse riders. Skeeter Thurston, we got to spend 3 days with Skeeter and Linda Thurston up in Canada this past fall. And we were talking, and it's the same old thing. Wow, them horses, they're a lot ranker now. No, they had rank horses when Skeeter Thurston was going to the NFR,
Right.
but they have a lot more rank horses today than they did 25 years ago.
Yeah. No, I've had so many different people tell me that same thing. That,
Yeah.
you know, the Donnie Gay, he always says the great bulls back when he was going would still be the great bulls today. There's just a heck of a lot more of them now.
Yeah, and, go back to Amber, too. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing with the bucking horses today if she weren't 100% behind it. So I married a bronc rider's sister and an all-around champion's daughter,
Yeah.
and she's just as immersed in the bucking horse deal as I am. She keeps all the records. We go out in the pasture, and I say, okay, that's horse 9 10. What is that's by J11 Peach Fuzz out of 203 Interstate Daydream. So it's a collaboration, and it wouldn't be near as fun if she wasn't supporting it. Heck, the other day we were going to take these horses to Arkansas to a friend's house, Thomas Mitchell, and buck them because they had a bunch of guys going to be there and going to help. And she had something scheduled. She was going to go somewhere else. She said, well, no, I've got to go watch these horses buck. I'm not going to Fort Worth. I'm going to Arkansas.
Huh.
So it's been it's cool to be supported by the one who's helping you pay the bills.
Yeah.
So,
Let me ask you about this new business idea I guess it's more than just an idea. It's happening. Among all the other things that you've done, you're raising and selling, and I think coming up with some creative ideas for the marketing of hay, which is very important, obviously, to all of us in the livestock business. Tell me about that.
well, we actually have our own trucking company, and we got into the trucking business 13 years ago simply because when we were raising bulls at the time, we were in a drought and we were having to have hay shipped in from all over the country to Stephenville. And so we got into the trucking business. That's turned into a freight trucking business. We have flatbeds and step decks, and we haul all over the country. But we've still been peddling, if you will, hay from time to time. We buy it for our own consumption, but we then sell some of it to some of our friends and neighbors. Well, the last 2 years, it's turned into more of a not just peddling. We've been actually selling lots of alfalfa hay. And so in 2024, we probably moved 30 to 40 loads, semi-loads of hay from Wyoming, Utah, Nebraska, South Dakota, Arizona, and New Mexico. And so we just decided we're going to hang out another shingle. We opened up the American Hay Sales located here in Stephenville, and we're going to sell hay locally here now too. And also we're going to sell, we actually deliver nationwide. We've delivered hay from our sources to Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri. And so we can take care of anybody and everybody. And we've come up with a little idea called a hay pod. A lot of folks like yourself even who are raising great barrel horses don't have a lot of room for hay storage. And so we've come up with the idea. We've got the 26-foot semi-truck trailer vans. They're single axle vans. They're 26 foot long, so they're not real intrusive. And we put 200 bales of hay in that van. We take it to your location. We unhook, park it, leave it there. You feed out of it. You don't have to handle it. You don't have to stack it. You feed out of that van. You call us. You say, got 10 bales left. We bring you a loaded van, pick up the empty, bring it back. And we've launched that. Pretty cool deal. And it's a convenience deal. Plus, it also gives you some hay storage that you didn't have.
Yeah.
And so, we've added that one more thing to our plate. We're gonna try to see if we can't get some hay sold to a few folks.
The bottom line is that Randy doesn't have a lot of free time, and I've kept you for way longer than I asked you for. I really, especially when you were explaining that hay pod idea to me, Randy, that my ears perked right up on that deal because, there are a lot of us that don't have we'd love to be able to buy a big load of hay, and we just don't have the ability to store it, and you're taking care of that. And I think it's a brilliant idea. So what's the name of the business again? American Hay?
American Hay Sales. It's real easy. AmericanHaySales.com.
Okay.
Go check out our website and we can get you fixed up. And we've got a number of hay sources that are from number 1 to number 3 hay, from premium to just good hay. But we deal mostly in alfalfa. We can get you fixed up with some Bermuda, coastal Bermuda grass hay too, but mostly alfalfa. And we feed it. We know what it's supposed to look like. We know what it's supposed to be. We test our hay, and we're hoping to provide a good forage source for for anybody that needs any good hay.
The Texas Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame is going to host its rodeo reunion and induction ceremonies. There will be a golf tournament at Kenyon West Golf Course in Weatherford, Texas on April 24th. Welcome reception and inductee group photo at the Hall of Fame, Cowtown Coliseum in Fort Worth on April the 25th. And the induction and luncheon at the River Ranch, which is a beautiful place in Fort Worth, Texas. I had a chance to MC that one time, and it was a kick. On April the 26th. You can go to TexasRodeoCowboy.com if you'd like to know more. You're involved in a class of inductees, Randy, that includes everybody from great team ropers to Buck Taylor and everybody in between. I mean, this is a cool class and a cool group of people to be involved with. Congratulations. When I reached out to you about this yesterday, I forget exactly what you said, but the one thing about Texas is there are a lot of people that could be considered Hall of Famers in the state of Texas. And so to be one of them, it's pretty special honor, I think.
Well, it kind of puts I want to be careful about how I say this. It puts a bow on a really nice career. I'm not done. I'm not finished. This isn't retirement. But it also, to be honest with you, I've been told that I'm probably one of the more low-key guys in our industry. I've never really kind of waved a big flag or tooted a big horn. I just kind of went and did my thing. And then I've had all these other things to come back to continue to make a living. But when it comes down to it, we all do this for a pat on the back and job well done and good job, Cowboy. And this deal here, this is more than a pat on the back. It's a validation for the past 38 years. And it's a pretty cool deal. We're excited.
Yeah. Randy Schmutz, rodeo announcer, general manager of the Silver Creek Rodeo Company, owner of American Hay Sales, bucking horse raiser, bucking bull raiser. Randy, I appreciate your time. Congratulations. Enjoy the heck out of that last weekend in April. I know you're going to.
Thank you very much, Steve.
You'll find the video of that interview on our 8 Seconds Media YouTube channel, and congratulations to Randy Schmutz. We shared the story of the Texas Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions on our 8 Seconds Media Facebook page. Hope you will like and subscribe to all of that, and we appreciate Randy for his time. And like I said at the beginning of the show, we've reached out to Cappy Allen. Hopefully I'll get a chance to talk to her this week, world champion barrel racer. There are several other folks on that list of inductees that I'd really like to have a chance to visit with, and we will let you know as we get those interviews done and get them in the can and get them shared with you here on the Steve Kenyon Podcast. Today's show sponsored by Wrangler, the official Western Wear Pro Rodeo. Long live Cowboys. By M2 Ranch Jerky. Thanks to Team Equinity on It's All About the Horse, teamequinity.com. The Justin Boot Company, the Grandview at Las Vegas. Resistol, sponsors of the Resistol Rookie of the Year Award. The Gooding Pro Rodeo in Gooding, Idaho. Next Gen Rodeo, the Cowboy Channel, and, of course, to Classic Equine and Classic Ropes. Classic Equine, play to win. We are Classic Equine, Classic Rope. Success is in your hand. Later on this week, barrel racer Josie Butler. Got some other interesting guests we're hoping we'll have a chance to get to, and we'll share all of that with you. Please like and subscribe to our Facebook page from 8 Seconds Media. God bless everybody. Thanks for listening. I'm Steve Kenyon. This is the Steve Kenyon Podcast.